there's generally confusion, I guess, about reserve and guide. But I think they're important because I know your team use them quite strategically, don't they? And I guess the aim of the session was how to achieve the best price. And I know this is part of your mission, isn't it? To price to generate interest.
Yeah.
Generate bids, to get the best price. So yeah, I'll leave it in your expert hands if that's all right, because I know it's more technical than you might think.
Oh, you could do it, but no, I don't mind taking. So basically, the reserve price is exactly what it says there on that screen. The minimum price which we can legally sell the property for. So even if an offer comes in that's a penny short of that number, the seller has to agree for that sale. If that figure is hit or exceeded, we can sell that property at the end of the auction. So it's imperative that you're aware of that number, because that could be what you walk away with. So you've got to be happy with that number. And that should never be disclosed to anyone barring us, you, and Andrew in probably these cases. Hopefully the three of us should be the only people that know that reserve. If any buyer gets hold of it, it's hard to make them then pay more, which obviously is what we want, because they know that that's the figure to basically activate the sale.
Okay.
So yeah, if we try and keep that on the down low, as they say. Now the guide price is basically what Andrew said, is what we use to generate the interest. So it's always below the reserve, and it's just it's just a numbers game in the most brutal way possible to say that. The lower the price, the more people see it. The more people see it, the more people view it. The more people view it, the more offers. The more offers, the more chance we've got of getting a bidding war to get you to generate the bigger prices. So it's just something we use. Now you can't have like a starting bid of £1 and a reserve of 100,000. That just can't happen, because it's just unrealistic. Buyers will eventually get put off that they're starting that low, but they have to go to that extent. So we usually try and keep it sort of within 10% of the reserve is roughly where, if it's like 100,000, we'd probably round it down to 90 instead of 91. If it's 90, we'd round it down to 80 instead of 81. Sorry, my maths went a bit thingy there. So we'll just try and make them round numbers, but that's sort of the gist. If you're roughly 10% below, it's probably about in the right area for pricing. And so it is just there to try it. If you've got two houses on the same street, they're in for sale, one's through private treaty, and let's say at 100, and we've got an auction one at 80, say, I bet you more people will go view the one at 80 than the 100, because they'll be like, wow, 20 grand different there. And the idea is to get them through the door. It's just to get them through the door technique that we use. Does that kind of help?
It is, yeah. I guess that generate interest. It's this whole. I think you described it as a domino effect, didn't you? It just feeds the pot, doesn't it? I guess so.
Yeah.
As many people, I guess, doesn't it almost start? It starts with Rightmove, doesn't it? People will scroll down, and I guess you've got to stop them at that point. To get the inquiry, to get them to view. And in effect, I suppose the whole model is targeted at getting as many people at bidding stage, and I suppose it really starts at what you've just described, doesn't it? Getting people interested at the outset.
Yeah, again through the start, and that lower price will achieve that. We call it peacocking. I don't know if you've all heard of the term, but so basically, if sometimes what buyers will do is they refuse to lose. And so they sort of get their feathers out like a peacock, and they start throwing around their money, I guess. So that's what we're trying to achieve, is every property to have like peacocking going on, so that we get a bidding war. I was saying to Andrew before this, the amount of times I've spoken to buyers or seen buyers post on social media that they've overpaid through auction, and it's because of peacocking. They've got themselves that determined to win that they've forgot about, oh, that's my limit. No, that doesn't matter. I'm winning this. And that's the more people we have at the bidding stage, is the more chance of peacocking.
Yeah. Which drives the mission, doesn't it? To achieve the best.
That's what we want. Yeah, we want. Yeah. Yeah, we want the best price for sellers just as much as any agent.
Yeah, so guide is a big part of this, isn't it? That ability to generate, because the ultimate aim of the webinar is about generating maximum bids, hence best price. But for you, this journey start. I mean, I guess I suppose there's bits before with how it's presented, but for you guys, I guess guide is a big part of that, isn't it? In terms of getting it to the market to get the most inquiries. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, the more people, the amount of times recently as well, because of the guides being so attractive, the team of that. Well, I've done auction sales that long now that they can, just from the level of interest at the start, they can anticipate whether that auction is going to need to be closed early or not, because we want to drive that interest further forward by reducing the time frame that buyers have. So we can reduce, they'll go, right, okay, there's enough interest here that we can create a bit of a frenzy. Let's reduce the time of the auction, and let's make it a real frenzy. And that's another thing that the guide prices helped achieve that by being so attractive.
So we sort of panic people into action, for want of a better word.
Basically, yeah.
No, that's interesting. Yeah. So, I mean, I said it was complex at the beginning, but there is a lot of psychology to it, I guess, isn't there?
There is.
It's not just here's your asking price. That there's a whole mechanism around why
there's a method to the madness, as they say.
Yeah. But I think this is really useful because I guess, if you said to a seller, would you consider auction model? They probably wouldn't appreciate the complexity and around what we've just described.
And they'll just see it as. Sorry, I'm sorry. I'll let you.
No.
They'll see it as some sellers see it as an insult that you're suggesting an auction, which isn't the case at all. You're just trying to offer a solution to their needs. One analogy that I use, and it does sort of resonate with a lot of people, but if you had a Picasso painting or a vintage car and you wanted to sell those, where would you take them?
Yeah, especially
to an auction, wouldn't you? So why aren't people doing it with their houses? It's the biggest. Majority of people, their houses is their biggest asset. So why aren't you doing the same as what the people with these Picassos and things are doing? It just, and then sometimes that's like a penny drop moment for a lot of people. It's there to achieve the best price.
Yeah, I know another example, a seller who spoke to me earlier in the week who's actually signed with yourselves, but he'd said, but I have this buyer who's interested, they've made me an offer. And my words immediately were, well, in which case, get them to bid.
Yeah.
Because, it's great that they've made an offer and they're interested, but actually put them in the pot. They're very welcome to bid, because all he needs, like you say, is one or more of the people to compete.
Yeah. But that's always funny as well with those buyers, because they're usually the ones that then take 6 months to actually decide if they do want to go for it or not, or just keep you waiting, or even then pull out. And it's just like, there's no commitment there from that buyer. And it's just sort of like word of mouth. Whereas if an offer on our system is potentially legally binding. So
absolutely. Yeah.
It's commitment.
Yeah. No, that's great. Do you mind checking that? I don't know. It's typical in the middle of a live event that someone would be at the door. Unfortunately, can't account for that.